Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Tech Nerd Tutorials. Today we're going to be installing BeansBooks. It's going to be something that one of the viewers has asked for, so here we are going to be installing BeansBooks today. So before we get started, we want to know what BeansBook is. So it is an online web application that is an accounting software. So you can install this and be able to manage your accounts from it. So we can see that it has some nice, simple to use accounting software for invoices, for payments, for sales orders. It does very nice reports about these particular accounts, and then you can do things like advanced search, as well as it is very web page friendly and apparently very powerful. Now I haven't really used this, so I can't quite say its effectiveness of being a software, but apparently it's popular enough that someone wants it installed. So with that, before we get started, the other thing I want to point out about this installation is that we are going to install it on what I'd suggest to be its own machine. So this is going to be installed on its own virtual machine, but at the same time you want additional security considerations such as to use HTTPS, the secured HTTP, so that the data is encrypted to whatever server that you're going to. The other option, of course, is to just have it as a local system where only this particular computer can have BeansBooks installed, or on a local network where it's only found within a particular work environment. Apart from that, this particular installation is going to be quite rudimentary in the fact that it will only primarily be dealing with installing the HTTP. Maybe in a future video we'll deal with it adding on HTTPS to this installation. So with that, we're going to get started. So what we want to do is we want to scroll up all the way to the top and click on the link Open Code. This will take us to the page that gives us information about the licensing of using BeansBook. So the primary issue that BeansBook presents is that if you're going to use it, that you cannot change the BeansBook name or logo within the software, and of course you can't resell it. There is a link at the center of the screen that we can go ahead and click, and that will take us to the file repositories where all the different files are and are updated, which can look a little daunting at first, but if you keep scrolling down you will get to the installation component. Now this is done for a local installation, but we can still copy some of the code like the update and paste it into terminal. Then we go ahead and let it run once we put in our password. And then the second line of code, installing all the prerequisite software, is something that we can then do afterwards as well. I'm going to go ahead and highlight this entire line of text, copy, and once again paste this into terminal. Now one thing is that if you are installing this on a clean Ubuntu server, it will ask for the MySQL root password, which is what I'm typing in right now. If you followed along from a previous video and have already installed some of these base softwares, then you won't be asked for that particular password. So as this is going, we're just going to wait for it to finish up, and then after that we can move to the next steps. Now the next steps on the screen itself, because as I mentioned before, this is for a local instance, it's not designed for you to access this outside of this particular computer. So most of the code in this following line we're not going to be using. Instead, we're going to be typing in cd/var/ww, and we want to take the HTML folder that's in here and move it away. So we've just put in the command cd mv html space html.old. All these commands are going to be down in the tutorial below, and please don't forget to put in sudo like I did, where I had to repeat it. So here I go, paste the next bit of code. We're going to add HTML at the end, and once again I forgot to put sudo, so I'm going to have to type it again and put sudo at the front. This is going to pull the entire directory onto our computer so that in HTML we now have our files. So now we can copy the next line of code that we're going to use. So don't forget to put sudo, and then we'll paste. And now we've created our access file. Now we want to edit this particular access file, which is this next line. So once again, copy and paste it after typing in sudo. And we want to edit it so that the permissions of the website does not require SSL. So you see me commenting out two lines by putting the number symbol in front of those two lines. And to save, I need to hit Control-O, Enter. Don't need to change the name. And then after I've saved it, then Control-X to exit. Now that I've exited, I can skip over the two sections that explain the two lines that I've commented out. They are there in the instructions. I can now move on to the next section, which is changing the permissions of a couple folders. So once again, just highlight the lines individual, copy, make sure you type in sudo first, and then right-click paste, and then do that also for the second line as well. Once we're done those two lines, we are going to be creating a configuration file. Exact same thing that we're doing, except the two lines of code are just in the second section. So once again, highlight the entire thing, right-click copy on the terminal, sudo, right-click paste, and do that one more time. And then we're basically good to go with our setup of BeansBooks. The next section, we are going to make some modifications to it. It is adding the current user to the www data group. What we're going to do instead is we're first going to go one directory up. So what we'll do then is we'll be typing cd and then space 2 periods. And then we're going to change owner, or chown, the folder to www-data. So the line of code we're going to have once again in the tutorial, if you can't see it here. And then after that, we can go towards configuring packages. Now this is something that we do have to do for BeansBook, where we must make a database for the BeansBook in MySQL. So we can go ahead and right-click, copy, and then right-click paste the command, and we're going to have to put in the password for our MySQL, which we did either in the install in this particular video, or if you've done it in a previous one, the root password. Now we can just copy each individual lines. I do want to note that after the identified by in the apostrophe, that is where you can put the password of the user you are creating. So make sure that you do that correctly, and then once you do that, we can then go to the next line, copy that entire line, and once again copy and paste. From there, we just keep going line by line in this particular section, once again highlighting each line, copying and pasting. And we do this for all parts of the MySQL setup. A few things to note is that this by default creates a user beans. So if you did want to change the user in MySQL, then you'd have to change every instance of beans on here, as well as the database that's being created is also called beans. So just keep that in mind, that if you want to customize this, which I do suggest for security reasons, that you do make those changes. Here then, in Apache, the web server, we just need to enable rewriting. So we can just highlight the next line and then paste it into terminal and let it run. And then after that, we're going to skip most of the configuration files here because of the fact that it is going to be different than doing a web hosting where it's public, as well as if you already have some things being changed. So we're going to the default page of Apache. You can get there either by highlighting the first section of the line, which I'm highlighting right now, and then just putting 000-default.conf. Once again, instructions in the tutorial if needed. And then from there, we want to add a particular section to that particular config file. So here in this file, we just want to scroll down to below the document root section, and I'm just going to add a line so that's a little easier to see. Then we're going to go back to the web page. We're going to skip the next section because that's for old Apache. We want the new Apache. We can go ahead and highlight the section that is the directory. We can then paste that into our config file, and we need to change the capitalized text pwd here to what is in the document root. So we just copy what is in the line 2 lines above into this section. And once we're done this, once again, Control O to save, Control X to exit, and then we're almost good to go. So we're going to skip the rest of the Apache installation, and we're going to go to configuring BeansBook. But just before we do, we want to restart Apache. So we'll go ahead and do that by typing in sudo and then service apache 2 restart. Now go ahead and restart our web server. And before, one last step is, we'll find this out later on, but we can fix it right now, is at the very bottom, there's also a line under troubleshooting that we need to enable this for PHP. So we'll go ahead, copy and paste that in, and then once again, we'll have to restart our web server. So now that all that is done, we can now go to our web browser. And under the assumption that you have already installed a dynamic DNS client, we can now go and finish the rest of our installation. And if you haven't created a dynamic DNS client, you can click on this link to watch that tutorial as well. So we're going to open a new tab in Firefox and navigate to our dynamic DNS web address. And that's going to take us to the installation. We can go ahead and click Start Installation. It's going to then ask for all our MySQL database information. So we can go ahead and put our host name as localhost, our database as Beans, our username as Beans, and then the password that we have created, which in my case was new password. After that, it will then take us to asking for an SMTP server information. Here we are going to add in our SMTP, but yours is going to be specific to whatever your SMTP server is. So I'm just going to skip over that particular section and go to the next section. Here, all we have to do is add in the first administrator account. So it's just going to ask for our name, our email address, and our password. And then after that, all we have to do is hit verify credentials. From there, the last button we have to hit is finalize installation, and away we go. Now we've reached the login page, so we just need to put in our email address and password. And then after that, we'll log on to BeansBooks, and we can see what it looks like, where we have a little bit of setup on our right side, but apart from that, everything is now good to go. Thank you so much everyone for watching. Please like and subscribe to this channel if you haven't already, and leave a comment down below if you're having any issues or would just like to give a comment. Also, you can follow us on Twitter and Facebook and Google+. And if you are in the Edmonton area, we do offer on-site consultations as necessary. If you are having more difficulties and you are in the area, then definitely give us a call or check us out on our webpage. With that, till next time, bye.